All right, welcome everyone. This is a Viper Professional Training and Support webinar. Today's date is May the 6th, 2019. This is a Monday night webinar, and the title of tonight's webinar is Training on Object Trader Alert Indicator. And as everyone knows that's been to our webinars or our live trading room, everything that we say and do at Viper Trading Systems is for educational purposes only. Futures trading, forex trading, any kind of financial instruments trading involves risk. Therefore, there's always risk of loss. You should only trade discretionary capital, and that is money that you can afford to lose. Nothing said in this webinar. Other webinars we have, our live trading room or anything else with Viper Trading Systems, should never be construed as trading or investment advice. And as always, everyone does trade at their own sole discretion. Any questions on the disclaimer? All right. Real quick, what I'm going to show first off is by tomorrow, shortly after the trade room closes, I will be putting the new alert in here in our little zip file that we keep on the member login, so everybody will be able to get it. But we will also be sending it out too, and I'm going to put a little video with it because I'd like for everybody to try to just install it themselves. It is real easy to do. You'll just have to remove the old object trader, put the new one in because the new one contains the new alert indicator, and then you'll put the new template in. And I'll go over why you need to do that, okay? So this is where it's going to be tomorrow after the room closes or shortly thereafter, but we will also send it in an email with a video, okay? So let me go ahead and go to a chart that you should see. All right. Now, each webinar that I start, I usually, take a look at what's really happening on the chart and kind of go from there. But this new indicator is going to help you out quite a bit because it's going to actually alert you to a lot of these trade setups. Now, don't get me wrong, you're not going to just hit the long button when you see a phantom long, and you're not going to just hit the short button when you see a short midband. You're going to do like we always do. We're going to do it smart. We're going to box them in. Okay, but let me go over real quick and just to show you what the alert indicator will be like. Let me just bring over just a plain chart with color bars, okay, because I've got the alert indicator on this. All right, now the alert indicator, what it's going to be, it's basically just a simple NinjaTrader indicator, and it's going to be in your list of indicators down here. Okay, now the way this alert indicator will work is you just simply don't use any bar colors on your chart. You know the bar color that's on your normal template? Well, on the template that I'll be sending you, we don't use bar colors anymore because these bar colors are built into this alert system. Okay, and if you put the bar colors on it plus these, you won't get any flashing. And the key to this is the flashing. Okay, now this little indicator, it has the ability to signal in real time with flashing bars, okay? And you have the ability to set this for however long you want it, 30-minute time period. You can do the audio for as long as you want. I'm going to probably go into the code and just change these to 10 instead, because you usually won't want an alert going off 30 minutes later because the trade's already happened. Okay, so I'll probably go ahead and do these something either at 10 or even at 5 possibly. And then, of course, if you don't want any sound, you don't turn the sound on. You can turn the sound on, though, by just clicking true and then choosing a sound. Now, we haven't gotten a sound into the wave file just yet. These are just some waves that I've got on my computer. A lot of these are in NinjaTrader, okay? Like you notice that you even have connection lost and all that kind of stuff. Those are just audio wave files in NinjaTrader. Okay, so if you wanted to hear connection lost when a trade set up, you could always use this as your little audio file if you wanted to. But we're going to put some, like this bag of coins to give an example. It's more like a cash register, ka-ching. That might be one you might want to use. Okay, and I'll have to see if that's something that I put in mine or if you've actually got that in your Ninja file. I don't know for sure, but I'll find out. Ka-ching, that'd be a good one, wouldn't it? You need a selection for none. Also, we do have that. no audio alert, you'll just simply click here and click false. That way you don't have any audio alerts coming up on your chart. Okay. Now we've also got in this little indicator the ability to choose the menu back color and the menu inactive color. And what that simply means is the color of the little drop down right here. See how that's in kind of a gray and then black? You can change that to anything you want because that's in the indicator colors. Okay, so the reason that I went ahead and did this before we get this shipped out is because, you know, to give an example, Charles can't really see greens really easily. So, you know, one of my colors here for mid-band long, you know, he might not see as easily. See here, your little flashing chartreuse color, that's the one I chose. And, you know, you can change that to whatever you want it to be. Now, keep in mind, if you use black charts or, you know, some other darker chart or something, you're going to have to go with lighter colors. But that's up to you entirely. We will put a template out there that'll simply do your charts exactly like mine are in the room each day. Okay, so let's go back to this little indicator real quick here. And let's go over some of the other settings on it. All right, so you have the back color for your menu and also your inactive color, which are actually, when it's inactive, that just simply means that it's not turned on. Now, when you turn on mid-band, long or short, minimum criteria long or short, phantom long or short, and potential trend change long or short, you can choose these colors and you can set these to whatever you want them to be. Okay, and they're changeable at any time you want them to be. All right, let's see, is this per chart? Well, Bhaskar, on your question, what you normally do is you set a template. You know, the way I did mine is I've just got a template and I put it on all my charts. Okay, now I just got this a little while ago that's got the new colors in it, so I haven't even played with this, but I know it does work. I did do one little thing with it just to check it. Okay, now remember what I said though, and it's extremely important. You will not use your bar colors anymore on your normal template, because if you put this alert on there, it will not flash, because basically what we had to do is when you see these bar colors that are normally on your chart, they can't really be overwritten in what they call the Z order, which simply means that it's not on top. Okay, and you could change that with like a mouse, but you'd have to do it each time. So what we did is we simply made it to where these bars that are normally on your template no longer are active unless you're just using a regular template type chart. Okay, so you will want to set your bar colors up on this new indicator, you know, the way you like them. You don't have to choose blue, red, and gold if you don't want to. You can even choose the intensity less than I do. I choose 255, which is the highest intensity on the bars, but you can choose any color you want for your bars. Okay, just remember that this is what we call your active, just normal bars, and then the flashing bar is going to be these colors right here. Okay, now this indicator also takes into consideration the trend. That's your mid-band, your line 0 through 8. All that's taken in consideration with the power trend. Okay, so the power trend is also built into this, but you don't have to worry about that. You know, you can use the other power trend and it doesn't actually overwrite that one. Let's see, you'll be giving us new templates to use, right? Or what indicator will be turned off? Yeah, Michael, what we'll do is I'm just trying to go over a little bit of, you know, just in case somebody wants to build their own chart without the template. But yeah, you'll have a template that you'll just simply put on your chart, and I'll show it to you in just a minute because I've got mine. All right, I just want to go over a couple of these real quick. Now, you also have your background color controls, and you can choose on these. You notice that these bar type selections where it says 4 range, well, that can actually be done in anything because this is actually a multiple tick frame indicator. So if you wanted to choose Ranko bars, you certainly can. If you've got your own custom Rankos, you should be able to use it because we've got some code in here that will accept about every bar that's out there. Okay, that's actually built into the code in here. All right, so I'll show you, I've got one set up on a 2-4 just to show you how easy it's going to be to set up. And what you do is just set each one with a template that you like. Okay, so for illustrative purposes, we're going to stay with the 4 range. We're going to stay with 4 range background. We're going to stay with 4 range bars. And then I'm going to use my lightning as 2 and 2. Now the lightning, what it is, that's actually your little trend change. You could use lightning 3 if you want a real trend change, like a big one. Or you could use, lightning 2 to give an example if you just want to see some bars as they creep up, for instance, like on a long, you'll see when it breaks out those little tops. And those can be good entries, by the way. Okay, so right now, this is what I've got mine set at. You'll want to set it to calculate on bar close true. And maximum bars to look back, it's going to be on the template and everything, but 256 is fine because it looks back further than that anyway. Okay, so let's go ahead and close this out real quick. And by the way, if somebody was seeing this chart like this right here, do you see, for instance, if you saw this right here, you can clearly tell that this is midband right here simply because it's flashing. Even though I don't have midband on here, see where that's flashing? That's where my midband's at. Okay, so couldn't I actually, with Object Trader to give an example, go ahead and do something like this? Let's say I put my Object Trader on my chart. And did I pick the wrong one? I think I picked the wrong one. That's all right. And then like use your ray to give an example. Something like that. Could you actually have this set for if it breaks that trend line to the upside, or maybe if it breaks this trend line to the downside? That's one thing we built into our tools, is some really, really good ways to use. You could even do something like that. We don't know which direction it's going to go, but what if it decides to jump up? We could even redraw our trend line if it does. It is saying the trend's a little down because it took out these swings, but see, I could actually, do this with it if I wanted to. But let's check something else out and see what we've got built into this code. Just one second. Let me get another chart here. Should have another one right here. Here we go. Notice right now on this chart, now this is our famous Viper chart right here. This is the one we all use each and every day of our lives to trade with, okay? So what I normally do on my charts is I draw support and resistance levels. For instance, if I got up this time of morning, that's pretty much what I've got right now. I do have a trend line I see. If this did bip up a little bit and then roll over, I might have another trend line, possibly. And if it's going to break down, I would expect it to break support, pull back and kiss, and then roll over, very possibly, right? Or if this turns out to just be a phantom, then I might want to just box it in at phantom, right? So what we've done is we've actually incorporated all of this into this indicator. This will keep you from making some for lack of better terms, dumb decisions in your trading, because we're retrace traders. We don't like to sell or buy a thrust. Now, I will buy a thrust, but only if it doesn't go against me. And I want to show you a little indicator that's built into this that'll show you that. Let's go ahead and turn on Object Trader Alert. All right, so let's see, right now we're close to a phantom, so let's just turn a phantom on instead. Let's see if our phantom nut won't be flashing yet, because phantom is going to have to at least touch this line right here. So this isn't a phantom trade yet, so let's see if it's a midband trade. Well, midband says it's up here, so I'm going to draw a little trend line like so, and that's pretty much what I'm looking at right now, right? Okay, but we don't know if this is going to come down a little bit further, bounce up, roll over, and get us even another trend line that might even do something like this. You see it all the time. You just got to have these little lightning retraces. Okay, this is not it because we don't know what it's going to do yet. But by building this into this, let me just show you what happens And let's just see if we get a mid-band or if we get a, now there's a little phantom type trade trying to set up right there, isn't it? Is it trying to set up? Let's see. That's blue on phantom. Let me see if I got blue on phantom. I do. Yep. Cyan. So that's a phantom right there. Now mine this morning, I actually have mine set on a different color than that. But see how that bar actually just clicked in the phantom right there? Because it touched my line 2, and it's telling me that this is trying to go up, okay, but we already missed it, okay. But let's see if for some reason, let's see if they'll kiss resistance and roll over and maybe give us another trade, because we already missed this one because while I was talking it already activated. And you could have boxed this in, by the way, just like this. I would have boxed it in something like that right there, and if it took that little swing out right there, I'd be in it. Okay, but let's see if we can get it again. Everybody see how that's doing there, though? This is going to flash in the particular color of the particular type trade that's setting up. Okay, so when you hear me call a phantom trade in the room, to give an example, you're going to already see it on your chart. Here, it looks like we're going to get a bar down, so let's see if we can draw a trend line. Hadn't gone down yet, though. Remember, I like to have a thrust retrace so I can get a trend line drawn. Let's just go ahead and put Object Trader on for the fun of it. Because this is what we're using this for, obviously, is to take trades. And let's see, it still went up, so we're not drawing it yet. I'll go ahead and get into the wedge mode just in case it does. Otherwise, we're going to take this other trade if it breaks out of this trend line. This looks like this might be the bar down that we want. Maybe. See if we can get something. Everybody see how clean that would have been? There we go. How am I? Let's see. I shouldn't be in a trade, but I think it's because of something that I did with the wedge early. And also, if you do market replay, let me just start Object Trader over. You'll only run into this in replay, by the way. I never do on my live. Replay, though, you have to actually have that first bar close before you put like wedge on the chart. But we still got it drawn, so let's see if we can get in a trade real quick. See if it'll get us a trade. I'm going to take it if it takes out that, even that right there. And I'll just go ahead and take it on a touch if it touches it. We'll see if we can get it. That's pretty much that trend line too, by the way. All right. Everybody see how you can box this in and use this in your real trading? You know, it's going to work quite well for you, I think. I think you'll really, really like it. All right. Now, depending on where you're at on your chart when you're trading, you can go ahead and turn on other alerts if you want. Okay. For instance, like right now, you'll notice that I've got my mid-band alert on. See, it's right here. It's doing this lime green. That's telling me that it's kind of oscillating around mid-band, but it came deeper, so that's one of my favorite trades, by the way. Now, I wasn't up at 2 o'clock in the morning, so I didn't take this trade, but that is a classic phantom trade. We got a little late on that trend line. Let's see, Gary, could you put together a little cheat sheet with the colors associated with the various trades? Well, I could, Thomas, except for one thing. You can change the colors. Okay, remember, now if we do just our template, obviously I can. But if you go to the alert indicator, you'll notice that, let's see, where'd my alert go? Right here. All right, if you go to your alert indicator, you'll notice that these are the colors right here. Okay, and when you click on them, they're going to turn to that particular color. Okay, so if I do a cheat sheet on it, so to speak, it would be, you know, some people might use like a, I don't know, maybe a blue on this or something. So that cheat sheet wouldn't really go too far unless they use the original template. Okay. By the way, I don't know if anybody traded this overnight, but oil really, really ran overnight. Anybody watch that? Now, let me show you a neat little deal. What if you miss this trade entirely? You say, oh my gosh, I'm just missing this trade completely. Well, you've got a little indicator in here called potential long. I'll probably change the name of this because I designed this to where it would be a potential trend change based on your lightning 1, 2, 3, whatever you want it to be set at. So let's see what it is set at real quick. Lightning is set on 3 and 2, so that's going to take 3 range bar, 2 swing strength, the way I've got it set right now. I've been kind of playing around with that. All right, so let's see if we get a color, and the color will be this color right here if we get a potential little break on something that moves 3 bars and then 3 bars back, which may not happen for a while because this looks like it's actually trying to head up. But we'll see if it'll print one. And like I said, you can change that. And I want to actually, what I would have liked to have done, but I heard from my programmer that you can't do, is I'd like to have had it where you could actually change it on the fly. But the unfortunate thing is you can't change it on the fly with, basically swing breaks and things like that. You can change indicators like stealth and a lot of those, but you can't actually change this on the fly. So unfortunately, if I wanted to change something, I would need to just real quickly draw another chart, CL, and let's say that I wanted to do my alert indicator on it, and I just draw me another chart, and I'll show you how this will be totally different than this one. We'll go ahead and, yeah, this will be a good game changer, I think, for a lot of people, actually. All right, so right now I've got my indicator set for 3 and 2. What if I want that set for like 2 and 2? I can just set that, change that as my default or whatever, or just put it on my chart. And I'll show you the difference in the way they'll fire. Okay, so this one's set. I'll just go ahead and do potential trend change. Technically, that's not a potential trend change. See how that's doing there? See how it broke that swing? See how it broke that swing? This little indicator right here is going to be very powerful because I'm going to make this become an object trader trade. For instance, what if you weren't up here? What if you weren't up here, but all of a sudden you got up like right here and you saw this pull back and you wanted to take a little breakout trade? Well, there was your one that didn't go against you. Okay, and we can do that on this little window right here and call it like a swing break trade. Okay, so that could be very powerful for you too. All right, now notice the way this one is flashing right here and this one's not. That's because they're set different. These are MTF charts, which means it's going by every tick. And this one's looking at a really quick chart, where this is looking at a little slower chart. You could even make this quicker with Lightning 1 if you wanted to. Okay, but to do that, you just simply go into your indicator, scroll down to your alert, and here, instead of 2 range, 2 strength, you do well, let's just do 4 range, 1 strength, which is about the same thing, by the way. See, I just missed that. I don't know why Ninja bounces around when you do this type of thing, but they always have. All right, and then we'll just set that as our default for now, and I'll show you what that would look like. Now, each time you start a new chart, by the way, the little indicator goes off. Okay, let me show you what I'm talking about there. Notice how there's nothing set. They're all inactive. But if I turn on this one, you'll see it flashing. See how much quicker it's flashing now? See here? This especially if we automate this, we'll be able to get you into some really good quick scalps. Okay? Let's see here. What if we got what we call a minimum criteria? I don't know if we got one of those for a while, but we'll find out. You want to see if we got a minimum criteria? Well, let's turn it on and see if we can get one. Minimum criteria long. And see, that one is cyan, so it's going to show up in a cyan colored bar. if we get a minimum criteria long. Let's see if we get one. They usually pull back enough. Let's find out. Maybe not for a while, but it should. There's a minimum criteria setting up right there. Minimum criteria on. And let's see, I may have done that a little bit too fast, possibly. I'm not sure. That was, let's find out here real quick. Minimum criteria, so it's got to close below stealth, which it has. It's got to close below line 6, which it has. So that should be flashing right there. But let's see if I can get another one flashing. It may have been too quick, or that may not be the real price. You know, sometimes your historical data is not the same. But that should have actually flashed there, I think. Let's check it. Let's see, when does the flashing occur? Is it after the next bar is created? Well, it's after a bar close. You can actually turn it on with the indicator if you don't mind and you got a fast computer. You could do calculate on bar close false. But I'd recommend leaving it on bar close true myself. That's what I'm going to do personally. Okay. So let's see here. We got 348, we got 430. We got stealth at 4 range. We got lightning candle at 1. Okay, and notice that you got your little indicator right here. This closed below stealth, but then stealth was out of the picture. So you still had a minimum criteria, but it didn't print it. Let's see if it'll print it. We need it to pull back a little bit more. Let's see if it'll print it. Looks like it's going to head up instead. Now keep in mind if also there's a total of 8 flashing trades, so you don't have to leave those turned on. Okay. The reason that we set this up where you don't have to is so that, you know, if somebody doesn't want to see those, you know, that many flashing bars and try to figure out what they are, then just go for the ones that you know that you want. See the little, that's your minimum criteria, by the way. See there, minimum criteria. So what minimum criteria does is it simply looks for stealth, close below stealth, check. Close below line 6, check. That's your bar. Now it doesn't turn again when it pops up through. You're going to just look at the bar that made the minimum criteria. And of course, remember that minimum criteria can go down further, obviously, so you still want to box in. Okay? What do y'all think about this little puppy so far? Let's see it in real time. Let's see if it'll tag us some more trades. Let me turn on all of them for just a minute. Pretty slick, actually. I used this today on my trading, and after the room closed, I don't know if anybody was watching it or not, but oil got a nice phantom trade that set up right after the room closed. I think it was close to 11 o'clock or something. That silly thing ran nearly 100 ticks. Are those thrust bars flashing, Michael, on your question? Yeah, and let me go over also a little bit more about what happens. It is not going to flash in this background unless it's a phantom. It's not going to flash on mid-band on long unless you have a green background and either a green or a blue mid-band. It will not flash if it's a yellow mid-band. Okay, because we want the thrust and the pullback. The whole idea of good trades is you don't want to take sideways junk. You want to get the thrust, the pullback, get a trade. Thrust, pullback, get a trade. Thrust, pullback, get a trade. Phantom, get a trade. That's what we designed it for, was right there. See how this little trade set up right here? And if I remember right, no, this is still before everybody got up. But let's see if we can get to the time that we opened the room, because I want to show you a trade setup that was actually called in the room when we opened the room this morning. Anybody remember it? You know, you're thinking this thing is just dropping like a stone, so you're thinking of going short, aren't you? But draw your lightning 3, and you're probably going to find out you really don't want to do that. See, here's your lightning swing right here. Everybody remember this? We had a line drawn on that this morning in the room. And does anybody remember what happened with crude oil? It got a nice little retrace right into here, and we got a short. Remember that? We got a nice little short right at the open. Let me show you how it sets itself up, because I called this in real time. Remember, we're not thrust traders unless you already got this trade. But let me show you the little trade that'll set up on this. If I remember it in the right spot, I'm pretty sure it was here. Notice your mid-band trade. See your little flashing magenta bars right there? That is a mid-band trade right there. That is a classic mid-band trade that as a trader, you're going to want to get ready to take. And by the way, that turned into a pretty nice little trade too. But keep in mind that, you know, they don't always just have to, you know, continue going one particular direction, and you got to be ready to take them whichever direction they decide to go. Okay. And I always like to draw on my charts, and a lot of the people that are with us nowadays do too. And that is, I would be drawing a trend line right across here, like so. And if this was to decide to break up at the open, and by the way, I called this trade in the room this morning, and we actually took this little trade. Let me get rid of the wedge because we're going to plan another one up here. And we actually took that little trade like that. Anybody remember that? But we did take this nice little short first. Everybody remember that? We got a nice little short trade. And if I remember right, we got about 20, 25 ticks out of that. Called that also. But you got to be ready at the open to go whichever way they decide to take you. And the whole reason that we designed this little setup was just so that everybody could do that. Okay. Now, what if you shorted this right here, like I called it in the room? Remember this morning, I called 36 if you were in our room this morning. Anybody remember that trade? Why did I call 36? Look to the left to trade the right. There's a nice swing right there, isn't there? Is that why I called 36? And by the way, that turned into a nice little short trade. Nice little short trade. But see how our indicator will catch that? It's looking for these mid-band trades like this. It's looking for these phantom trades like this right here even. And if they don't work, then get out of them quickly, because this is a legitimate phantom trade. It just happened to not work, and you might not have gotten it because if you box it in, you never got it. And the market actually went short after that. Okay? Let's play it a little bit. Let's watch this indicator. Anybody remember this trade right here? I said draw a trend line in the room, take your trade off the table. But we didn't flip it. But where did I call this trade? Anybody remember? We took out 36. We took out 36 and we started heading up. But you can also use trend lines. What's that trend line type of trade? Oh, I did that as a region. That won't work. That would have triggered right there. But remember, we also talked about this trade here. I said if it broke 36 to take it, well, set you up a little region. And we'll go ahead and do it at 36. And if anybody remembers that trade this morning, that was also a very good trade. But what if you missed the trade? Then could you rely on the tools that we've given you to get the next trade? Because let me show you what actually happened. We're just going to trigger this trade. We don't care where it goes. I just want to show you how to see these trades. See that little phantom trade set up there? Now you got a green background. Now, let me kill this for a second. What this is looking for right now is it's looking for a retrace in the mid-band. Now, the way that this is designed on this is going to actually look for the trade in this sweet spot right here. This is where that indicator will change. Let me turn some of these off because it may be getting confusing. I'll just turn these off. We don't care about them. We'll look at minimum and mid-band only for now. I'll show you. Now, I attended Charles's webinar after. In other words, I watched it after it was posted and everything. And I noticed that he had mentioned he really just likes the mid-band type trades. Well, this will be a perfect little indicator for Charles because, for instance, if he only likes mid-band trades, he's going to turn these others off. Now watch when if this gets down in this area, that you'll get a little green flashing. This might not do it because it just barely missed it. You barely missed that trade. It might not do it. We'll see. We will see. Doesn't look like it's going to me. And by the way, if it doesn't get into that, what about the minimum criteria trade instead, or a trend line trade? How about something like that, and simply go if it breaks that trend line? Could you do that? Not bar close. We want wedge. There's your little mid-band trade, by the way. Right there, see it flashing right before our eyes? And we expect it to go no lower than 36. But could we be ready to take that trade if it just simply breaks above that little green bar right there? Or if it comes inside my box? Or what if it breaks my trend line? Well, I'd already be in it because I see it bouncing right there. Okay? And I put my stop just under 36 just in case, by the way. Okay? See how neat that's going to be to get you a little bit better confirmation of getting into the trade? How cool this little indicator can turn out to be for you. Because, by the way, in the trading room this morning, just to let you know, this trade was called in real time, right here for short, right here for long, right here for long. Does anybody remember the number 42? Remember why? High, low, higher, high. ABC. There's your little swing right across there at 42, and look at that. Bounced right off of it. Now, we don't make this stuff up. I mean, for instance, that trade there was called at 36. It was called at 42. And if you remember on oil, that little trade right there was a literal monster. You know, it just went up, 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 up. But could we get out of the trade if we see it break, like maybe a power meter or something like that? Well, we can turn on this little trade. Say potential short. Now, I'm not saying to short this, but if it takes out like a swing and you get that little bar color, you might want to protect your coin. See that little bar color right there? Well, I'd put my stop right across here right now, like that. Okay, this is going to be pretty cool because you'll be able to turn it on or off or anything you want to do. Obviously, you wouldn't need any shorts right now, so you just turn your shorts off, right? We don't need any shorts. We're just looking at longs. So what we've done is we've designed a flashing bar setup that will draw at mid-band, it will draw at phantoms, it will draw potential trend changes, which, by the way, you can even use a second indicator if you want it on your chart and even do like your lightning 3 to give an example. For instance, to me, I don't see this change in trends until they take out 44. So I could actually have a bar flash if it did. That would be a potential trend change. Okay, because that's a high, low, higher, high. That's definitely a good swing that should hold on any kind of a pullback. Okay. Anybody have any questions so far on it? I've only been 40 minutes into it. Let me make sure. I'm confused. Where's the green background colors for trend? Michael, that's all built into our algorithms, but let me go over the type of trades that it's actually looking at rather than taking the actual trades. Let's go over some trade types. All right, first off, the way this indicator was designed, it is only going to look for, it's not going to look at this area here except for this trade. Okay, that's where it'll flash on, that would be a phantom short. Okay, but in this area right here, it is not going to look for any other type of trade. It won't look for mid-band trade. It won't look for any other type of trade until you get it wouldn't even catch this trade, by the way. I mean, you could box this and we teach this trade, but the reason I did not want it to take a trade in here, or to even trigger a trade in here, is because when it's sideways like this could easily get you in and out, flipped around and sideways and chop. Okay, now would we take this trade when it thrust down below support, came back and kissed and rolled over at mid-band? Yes. But couldn't you just as easily take this minimum criteria or this minimum criteria? Yes. Because those would show, let me show it to you. Minimum criteria short. Let's see, that one didn't go above stealth. That one did right there, although it might not have closed, because it has to be the bar down. Let's see, and it did here and here and here. Okay, so this would have been like a little predictor type trade, but it doesn't look like it triggered the stealth on there. And I'm not exactly sure why, unless with historical data, it really never closed above it. And that's a possibility. Because keep in mind, with market replay, you're not technically getting every bar where they were at that exact time. Okay, if you've ever really studied market replay, when you refresh a chart, it's giving you the historical data, but you've also got some discrepancies in it. Okay, so I think in real time that more than likely it would trigger that trade, because I see it closing above stealth and line 2. Well, let's see, that was a bar down, a bar up, and a bar down. So it would have done it on that bar right there. Okay, so it should have done it on that bar if the price was really there at that moment. These are not, one thing about 4-range bars, when you're not using what are called perfect range bars, like no gap, you do have some discrepancies in replay data. Let's go over here and see what we got. See, mid-band long, see that triggered, that triggered, that triggered. This triggered with trend line easily. And did we get a phantom? I don't remember if we did or not. It didn't quite touch the line. So this was not a phantom right here, although you could have taken it as a phantom pretty easily. Okay, that's a mid-band trade. That's a mid-band trade. That's minimum criteria. That's minimum criteria. That's a little breakout trade, little breakout trade, little breakout trade. Mid-band again. That's your short mid-band. You'll see it change with magenta color. See there? And this is actually, this is again proof that, this is, this is actually a little swing break is what that is. That's another reason why you got to get your colors so you don't get confused with which trade it is. Because I'm even new to this right now. I've been playing with it for 3 days now, but I'm still getting used to every trade that's in it and how to do it and all that. That's why we're having this webinar. Because as we develop stuff, we'll all have fun trading it. Okay? Let's see if I'm missing any questions just yet. Let's see here. Bear with me a second. I'm going to flip this question log around. The potential trend change, Michael, what you do on that one is technically, let me show you on a chart here. technically, when you're trading, okay, you're basically, and I'm going to change the name of that, I can tell already, because to me it's not a potential trend change unless I use it more as such. But when our programmer designed it, he designed it to actually be, it would trigger here, it would trigger here, it would trigger here, it would trigger here, and it would trigger here, right? That's on a Lightning 1 chart. If you had it set on a Lightning 2 chart, it would trigger here, it would trigger here, it would trigger here. See, when it comes above that, it would trigger here when it comes above that. So that's what that's actually drawing. What if you were using Lightning 3? Well, it would trigger, if you got a lower, a low, a high, and a lower low, you only know that when it takes out the swing, right? So this would be a potential trend change on a chart that was larger, right? So what we did on that is we actually made it to where you could set it for any MTF time frame that you want, MTF tick frame. And I don't want that to sound confusing, but see, technically, this is a little breakout trade right here. This little breakout trade right here. This little breakout trade right here. See how you're getting higher lows, higher highs? So each one of these can draw a bar if you want it to do it, okay? But you don't have to. The whole idea of how we designed that indicator was so that you could set it the way you want it. I just turned it on that way so that everybody could see, it would show it as quick as those bars are even changing. But keep in mind something like this. What if you got a nice retrace trade and you turned on your bar close? Okay, well, a bar close can go up and then right back down in your face in a heartbeat, but swing breaks don't. So what if I took one contract, two contracts, three contracts, and then rode the thing? And then the moment it breaks my support, or like a trend line, that's a terrible trend line, but everybody sees what I'm talking about, you get out of the trade, right? Okay, so this is going to have huge ramifications in the future, because I already saw a good potential for this with Object Trader. You could simply have it take a trade when these are taken out. This gets a higher low, breaks the swing, contract. Higher low, breaks the swing, contract. See what I mean? So that way a person could really ride some of these like this that are just really heading up. Now, what I would probably do if I did that, let me show you one other chart that I like real well. And we're not going to change this in the room. Don't get me wrong on this. This just opens up some new opportunities, in my personal opinion, of really being able to trade this thing even somewhat different. Okay, I'm going to do a Renko chart right now. Yeah, if a swing breaks, you could fire, another trade. And I'll add that to Object Trader. It'll probably be added within the month, because it just hit me like a ton of bricks when I saw this little MTF indicator. This is why this took a little bit longer to get built, because I wanted it to have a lot of things done on the fly. I wanted it to work properly, and I wanted it to really alert a person as they're trading to see the trades, the good retracement trades. And I personally think it's going to make a huge difference in actually how much a person can make in a day, because a lot of times you miss a good trade because you don't see it, but this little indicator is going to start, shining at you. And keep in mind, trend lines and things like that, really, really good to get in trades. I might have that set on 10 days. That might take a minute to load, even on my gigantic computer. Let's see. In as much as you customize the colors, the template you send out will be the colors used in the room. Correct. Yeah, and I haven't totally set myself on the colors. Keep in mind that the reason we have to choose certain colors is because we've got certain colors on our backgrounds and things like that. Okay? So, and also keep in mind, if you use a little bit larger bars and things like that, you might not get some of the signals that you get on a little bit smaller chart. Okay, let's turn on some of these and see if it got them. Got the shorty. Didn't get this long, did it? Because it didn't quite touch that shadow right there. It looks like it did, but I don't think it did. It actually looks like it did, but it didn't as far as the script is concerned, and that's probably to do with the real prices. Because keep in mind, this is market replay. Okay, let's turn on some others and see if they triggered. See, there's your minimum criteria. We haven't had a phantom long. Let's do the little potential trend change. Now this one I've got set on the larger swings. See there? Show you what I'm talking about. See, I've got that one set on 2-4, but 15 swing strength. That's huge. Okay, so you notice that they only print when they take out these big swings. See here? But could that be a good thing to have happen when you're watching this? Remember this trade I called this morning in the room? See that little bar flashing at you? It's breaking the potential trend. So was that a good entry? Yes. Okay. So, you know, this can be a good thing. You know, you don't have to have it print every single time this thing does its little zigzag. You don't have to do that. But what we've done is we built it into where it's not a black box. You can do anything you want with this little indicator. Okay. Let's see if I got any questions. Do you have any webinars that one can watch to start getting to understand these indicators so that we'll train one before subscribing to the live room? Indrajit, hey Indrajit, hadn't seen you in a while. Well, Indrajit, since you've been with us in the past, I don't know if when you were with us, we had the mid-band, we had the object trader. See, here's a mid-band trade setting up right while we speak, but let's just see if it holds support. You want to see if it holds support? We'll find out. We will find out. Is it going to hold support? We'll find out. Taking it out just a little bit, isn't it? So is this a trend change yet, anybody? No. But what if instead you say, okay, well, if this doesn't at least take out maybe this area right here, I'm not really going to go long. Maybe I'll get a phantom. Well, turn on your phantom and just see if you do. I'll turn this potential long off, and we'll see what it does. Notice that your little phantom turned on. That is a phantom trade. Could you box this in? Well, let's just find out. I'm not going to turn on Object Trader. This isn't about trading as much as it is just trying to get the trade set up based on what this little puppy tells us. Let's see if we get it. I'm not taking shorts. We're looking for longs. Now I'm going to box it again. I'm going to box it again. And there's coming up your long. Nope, not yet. Didn't get your phantom. Now, did you get your phantom just then? Yes. See it? I boxed it right there. So it proves again the thing works, doesn't it? Now, this would not flash. Notice that phantom quit flashing when this turned red. It's no longer going to flash on that. It's also not going to flash if it gets into this area right here. Notice how I've got it turning off when it gets into this area right here. See, that bar doesn't trigger it. This bar didn't trigger it. But does that mean you can't draw like a trend line, to give an example, and still take that trade? Now, this could be a trend change, right? But what you'd have to do is what? Well, box it in again and see if you can get you a little short trade. Let's see if it works. We'll fast forward a little bit and see if we can get 10 ticks. There's 5 or so. That looks like a 10-tick trade to me. See, the little thing works. The little thing works. Let's see if we get, still looks kind of like a long, but let's see if it gets any kind of little trend break. Let's check that one and see. I didn't turn it on, but let's just turn it on too. And yep, see it flashing right there because I told it lightning 3, so that would have been your trend change right there. Like I say, I think you're going to like it. I like it. And, you know, if it's not something that you feel like, you know, you're going to use and everything, then, you know, don't worry about it, because you can get some really good trade setups with our trade calls that are in that room every single day to begin with. But this little indicator, the reason we designed it was so that everybody could have a great little indicator that can get you into some really good trades, and also how to box them in at like mid-band and things like that. Because it does work. I like it. And I don't trade these 2-4s as much. I use this little chart right here. I can see the trade a lot better on this chart than I can on the Renko type chart. But this looks to me like, what do you think? Is it what is it? Is it another, what do we call a mid-band trade? What do you think? It could be, or it could retrace some, couldn't it? And you'd find out shortly. And just keep in mind, you can turn your little indicators on and just take the type of trade that you do. You know, for instance, with this double top here, I'd probably be looking for a deeper retracement on this because it pretty much double topped. See it? If they take out those tops by a lot, you look for mid-band. If they don't take them out by a lot, you look for phantom. There's your mid-band flashing. Box it. No trade yet. Still boxed. There's your phantom. That might have been a little trade if you box it. That was a little quick for me. But could you have gotten that trade just then? Absolutely, you could have. Because that was just a mid-band trade and a good little trend line. I've got it going like 100 times, so it's going pretty quick. Let's see, was the colors user configurable? My chart's colors are somewhat different. Yes, they're totally adjustable. Totally, absolutely adjustable. Let's see if we can get another trade. Could everybody see right now that you could literally set up a trade on this chart with a trend line? I mean, you know, the way I'm looking at this chart right now, I'm seeing something like that. Okay? If that was to break that trend line and bounce off of a phantom, I would probably take that trade if it popped up above phantom and fired me in. Does it? We'll find out. Well, it should have. Not sure exactly why that didn't with my wedge, but it didn't, and it's probably because I got it going 100 times. Let's see. I was just able to log in. Will you post this within a half hour? Yes. Potential trend change can also be just as it starts stair-stepping up too. You know, you can set that the way you want it. Okay. By the way, if you miss this little trade right here, let's see if we can get a trade. I'm just curious. I'm going to turn off everything and just look for a mid-band trade. Mid-band long. I expect it to bounce right there. If it gets into my little mid-band area, could I be looking for a trade? Very possibly. Mid-band trade long. And you'd box it right there. Oh, even with lower high, Mindy, on something like this trade was way down here on this phantom right here. That was your trade. By the way, I was talking to a guy on line earlier. I actually got that trade this morning with Top Step at 58. I was watching it. I was on the phone, and I thought, well, you know, if this thing doesn't go against me, I'll go ahead and take this. And it got in at 58 and never looked back. And I don't know if anybody watched that or not, but look what actually happened with oil. I traded this little puppy. And you want me to show you how I knew where it was going to hit its head? Anybody? I'll show you. See your little thrust, retrace thrust? This is like a leg 1, leg 2, leg 3, but then they take out deeper, like for a short. So this is leg 1, leg 2, leg 3, right? That's the way I teach that. So look at this real quick. And watch that trade. It's amazing if you draw on your charts. It really is. Because this little trade turned out to be a monster. But where did it hit its head? Right where I got my line drawn, pretty much. So if you would have been long on that, could you have protected that by what I've taught in these rooms and everything? And look at that thing actually start heading down even, you know? It's just amazing if you draw on your charts. Because when I traded that this morning, I used our little indicator, got in at 58. That was off of a line 1, and just simply jumped in. And that little dude just went, gave you a nice little pullback right into a mid-band trade, and then just took off like a bullet and hit exactly where my target was. So don't be afraid of getting into, I heard Charles on Saturday, and I thought, mid-band trades are okay, but, you're missing out on a great trade called a phantom too. I heard him say that he doesn't really like the phantom trade. And that's fine, because you could take this trade right here also, if you boxed it in, took it above mid-band or when it even retraced. But what about the guy that got in at 58 and was already taking some profit while you're getting in? That's the whole idea of why we designed this little indicator, so that it would actually show those little trades for you. Okay? And it'll flash and let you know where the trade is. See where that phantom was right there? See the little cyan flashing? That was almost a no-brainer trade. Now, I got in a little earlier than I probably should have, but I just saw it high, low, big old ABC type. Here was your support. I mean, you gotta look at your charts in real time and see they had a higher low right there, right off of phantom. So if you jumped into it, you weren't risking hardly anything. And it turned out to be a monster trade. And I know some of you got it too, by the way. Phil K., have you ever made a webinar of different trades and their percentage of success? The trades that I call in the room, I've been told, are in the 90s. So I think that's about as good as they get. Not saying that to brag at all, but I mean, those trades are called like that in that room. To give an example, and we're about out of time, but this little trade that was called in the room this morning, we got this nice little short trade, came right down to support. We drew a trend line. I even mentioned that I was getting out on your little lightning or at line 2. We had talked about it, okay, because it was bouncing off support. And we actually boxed this little puppy in right here and got that monster trade and even called 42. So I think just really rely on, our teachings and also to see the trades in real time. And the percentages come more when a person just gets to where they can really see on the charts where the trade is. Okay? Because, well, to give you an example, I don't know if anybody traded into the close at all, but this little trade stopped out right here. And let me show you something here. I didn't trade this after this. I had things to do. Anybody see a little trend line that you could actually draw on this chart right now as we're speaking? But it went short. It almost did. The mid-band hadn't changed just yet. But let's see if we can get a little trade. Okay, we got a short mid-band now. All right, let's see if we can get a mid-band short. Anywhere in this little, if it comes above this little yellow area, that's a mid-band short. Not yet. Probably going to have to slow this down a little bit or we'll never trigger it. See, there it is right there. See it flashing? Right at resistance. I mean, can you get to where you can see the trades on these charts or not, everyone? But could you also, thinking that, wow, oil's gone up like crazy, could you have shorted that trade? Yes. What if you drew a trend line here, though? Like so, and watched the trade, because the trade's been, really heading up all day. And you got you a long trade right about through there. See there, trend line break. But couldn't you just wait for it to break resistance right there? See? That's the way we teach it. I was watching this trade into the close, and it gave a nice little short, but I was on the phone with talking with a customer and everything. Plus, I had gotten this trade earlier right here from 58, and this puppy hit all the way to the top of my box. Was that luck, or was that actually from diagnosing the charts? It's from diagnosing the charts, because you could tell exactly where it was going by just drawing your thrust retrace and getting the nice little 74 right there. All right. Anybody have any final questions before we wrap? We'll be going over this indicator quite a bit. And keep in mind, once you get the indicator, just go ahead and kind of play around with it and see what you think. Play with the colors to see what you like the best. Obviously, on a red background, magenta isn't too great. You may want to change that color. See, there's where you'd be pretty much if that stays with that trend line right there. If that actually breaks that trend line, could you actually short it if it does? You could box it, couldn't you? What if it breaks these little swings, like, you could set it for your larger swings if you wanted to, like a potential trend change. Like when it's taking that out, see where that's flashing right there? That's your mid band. But could you have shorted that trade right there? Yes. Because you draw on your charts, you can clearly see that's a trend line break, and it definitely broke it. I don't know how far that dropped, but if I remember right, some kind of news came in or something, but if I remember right, oil may have even tanked that, but I don't have any more data. I've just got it till the close. But does anybody have a chart after that? Because I'm pretty sure oil opened at 5 o'clock way down. Yeah, and Tom's saying, can't wait to get my hands on this thing. Yeah, and keep in mind that, see, like this mid-band right here, if you box this in to go long, would you have taken a long yet? I mean, even if you boxed it above the other green one, would you have taken a long yet? No. It's not going to mean just to jump in the trade just because it's a mid-band. You're going to still want to box them in. And could a person actually be short on this from a trend line, and you might not be looking for a long? Oh, it came down to 61.82 later? I thought I remembered that, at 5 o'clock or so or later. All right, anybody have any final questions on this indicator? I will get it licensed and everything tomorrow. It will also, we're moving the display down so that you'll see the little indicator right here. And as you get these little trades, it will give you the alert if you want to hear it. Let me show you how that works. Hopefully I can get this to work. I'll still test this tomorrow, by the way. All right, let's see if we can get a audio alert. I'll try to do the ka-ching. Where was that one at? Bag of coins, that's it. So we'll set it for true. Go off every 15 seconds for 30 minutes. That should do it. Let's see if we can get something. And then we'll wrap in just a second. Oh, is CL heading up as we speak right now, Kenneth? Well, I think if a person will get to where they'll wait on their trades, to actually see these, in real time that a person will probably more than likely get some pretty good little trades. Oh, I'm not going to get any more data. Duh, I've got it at the end of the deal, so I'm not going to get anything else. So we won't get a ka-ching after all because I'd have to back it up. So let's go ahead and wrap it for now. We'll try the ka-ching in the morning. How's that? I tried to do the best as I could with this because this is brand new to me too. Okay, this was just designed. The programmer just literally got it to me tonight as far as the final version of it. I'm still playing around with it. In real time, it works great. Market replay, it depends if you really speed these things up. If you go like 500 times, I don't think it'll even see it. It might, you know, on some trades it might catch it and some it might not. But in real time, I do see it catching them. All right. And also, like I say, keep in mind that we can build this to where this will be another trade right here. You know, for instance, that trade that I called in the room this morning, not here, but it was like it. It was way back here. We could actually get this to where that would automatically fire that trade that I called this morning in the room when it took out 36, because it would simply be looking at lightning 3. Boom. When I download market replay data, do I get level 1 and level 2? Yes. I've got ability to get both of them, but I usually just get the level 1. Okay. We're still going to have 2 object trader triggers. We're looking at different things with object trader. Our program is not going to do a thing to object trader until we get 8 done. And the reason for that is because we have to test 8 to make sure it works exactly like 7. Okay. Now, if you want to be just exactly like Charles is doing on his trades, you'll probably just simply want to do these 2 indicators right here, the short and long mid-band. If you want to get more of the trades, like I even called in the room, like I don't know if anybody remembers this morning, but I called ES on a Phantom, and it was a monster. And it worked at mid-band too, but, you know, it was a heck of a lot better trade at that Phantom long. Okay, so, you know, don't be afraid to box in, draw trend lines. You know, look at your charts, even though they got certain colors. If they come back and kiss resistance and they roll, take a quick trade, but also realize that this is actually a big uptrend. So when they break trend lines, you can take them long. All right, again, thanks everybody for coming. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll get to doing this, and you'll get your own here in a day, hopefully tomorrow, but it might be. I'll play with it in the morning and make sure that it fires every single trade in real time that it's supposed to. It did today. But I got a new copy from him a little while ago too. All right. Thanks everybody for coming. I hope I didn't run this too long. Good night, everyone.